February 20th, and I am here with your geopolitical news. Al Jazeera reports Israeli forces kill, wound Palestinians waiting for food aid in Gaza. At least one dead as Israeli forces open fire on crowd of hungry Palestinians waiting for aid convoy in northern Gaza. So while people are waiting for food, people are starving, people are displaced, people are probably searching for loved ones. They can't find loved ones. Some have been already confirmed dead. And this is a humanitarian crisis. And there's pockets of situations like this that are happening all over where people are just looking for refuge. They're just seeking refuge away from the horrific conditions that they are faced with. And so, in this circumstance, I can only imagine that people have grown impatient, people are very frustrated, and people are very angry. And so, rather than to try to calm a situation down, it seems like it's the same thing over and over again, where it is not understood how to resolve a situation without absolute violence. In other geopolitical news, Al Jazeera reports Russia arrests dual U.S. citizen for Ukraine linked treason. The woman is accused of raising funds that benefited the Ukrainian armed forces. Russia's internal security and intelligence agency has arrested a woman who holds dual Russian and United States nationality in the Euro district for committing treason by raising funds for Ukraine. The Federal Security Service, FSB, in the city of Yekaterinburg, hope I said that right, Yekaterinburg, took into custody the unnamed woman, identified only as a 33-year-old resident of Los Angeles, state media reported on Tuesday. Okay, so this reminds me of, the individual that Tucker Carlson was speaking of when he was speaking to, or interviewing rather, the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. He was speaking about an individual who he believed was detained, that was a journalist, reporter, and the Russian president was informing him that this individual was actually a spy. This individual was actually working for the CIA. And so here's another situation where a woman has dual citizenship. She has citizenship in the United States of America, and she also has citizenship in Russia. And so this woman has been linked to raising funds for the Ukrainian military. Now, how do you link somebody to doing such things? Well, if you are raising capital in any type of way, and then you in turn transfer or forward that capital in some type of way, shape, form, or fashion to an outside entity that receives that capital, and depending on where that capital goes, you can very well be held accountable for you sending that capital to someone either beknownst to you or unbeknownst to you. And so I don't know enough details about this story to actually comment on whether she was or she wasn't. But this is what's being said. This is what the Russian government is saying to the world, that this woman has been detained because this woman is she has been committing treason. Now, treason as it relates to her citizenship in Russia, because Russia is in an ongoing and an active conflict with Ukraine at this point. So for you to be a Russian citizen raising funds for anyone in Ukraine, it has to be taken as not only a threat to national security as it relates to Russia's national security, but it has to be taken into account. And as I said, I don't know enough about the situation to know if she was or she wasn't. I don't know enough about Russian law to know how bad it really is. But just to hear the word treason, you know, you usually would hear something like that as it relates to someone who is a part of, a governmental structure, someone who is actually a part of the government, or someone who is actually a part of the military industrial complex. This is the only time I've heard the word treason really used. I haven't really heard it used as it relates to citizens. Now, I might be wrong about that. And I'm pretty sure that there's cases where citizens have been charged with treason, especially if, they work somewhere and they receive some type of information and they gave it to someone outside of the country, especially an adversary to the United States of America. So I can very well see how a citizen could be charged with such. But as I said, I don't see how a citizen could be charged with such, on the other hand, if the citizen doesn't actually have some type of governmental clearance or they work some place of importance. Now, on the flip side, what I can say is there are many citizens who work in the private sector that, you know, can also access and obtain information that probably would be also a threat to national security if it was to land in the wrong hands. And what I mean by the private sector, you have all type of private um, defense people who make weapons, people who make technology, people who make all types of different things that are in the private sector, who some of these companies and corporations have governmental contracts, some of them don't. Some of them are vying, trying to get governmental contracts. So it's a very, very touchy situation. And like I said, I don't have enough information on it. So I just wanted to bring this news to you guys to know, for you to know that you need to be very careful what it is that you're doing, your movements, because people are watching. People are watching everything that you do. When you think that they're not, they are. And so something that you may feel is innocent, something that you may feel you have every right to do, and your intent is pure. Well, in the world we live in, it can very well mean the difference between freedom and imprisonment. In other geopolitical news, children collect spilled flour from the ground after Gaza aid chaos. A video of children collecting flour off the ground shows how serious the hunger situation is in Gaza. Now, what do I think about the video that I just showed you guys? I'm pretty sure that your sentiment is the same as mine's. It's a very it's a very sad and hurtful thing to watch. People, men, women, children go through such hardships. It's a very sad and hard thing to watch. And as I sit here and I watch it, you know, I wonder where where are all those who pretend to care? Where are all those who profess to care? Because in that video that I just watched, I've seen an enormous amount of people looking very, very displaced, very confused. I also see people on the ground picking what appears to be some white substance up off the ground. And now that the reports have come out, what it appears to be that they were picking up was flour. And so it's a hard thing to watch when people are suffering that much and suffering that bad that they have to resort to picking something up off of the ground, picking a substance up off the ground that would ensure that maybe they might be able to eat a meal that night. Picking something up off the ground that would ensure that maybe they might have something to eat for a day. And so it's a very hurtful thing to watch. It's very sad. And I pray not only for a ceasefire, but I pray for an end to this conflict immediately. And sadly, I know that my prayers will not be answered because I know that with all that has been done, with all that has been done, there is no way to make things right. The only thing that you can do is just stop what you're doing, but there really is no way to make things right. In other geopolitical news, I'm on a YouTube platform on Zach Mawask. I don't know how to say his last name, but you can see his last name is NWMWEKASSA. I'm on Zach's channel right here. And if you can see the title, Putin, Russia has found the antidote. I don't know how true this is. I don't know if this is propaganda. At this point, I don't know anything. But what I do know is that if this is if this has any ounce of truth to it, this will be one of the single most important things in not just um, Russian history, but in world history. And I almost made a mistake of saying American history, but This will be the single most, it will probably be the single most greatest accomplishment in the, I don't know how many centuries in world history. So if this is true, the implications of this is just astronomical. I'm going to play this video for you guys to give you guys some context of exactly what it is that I'm speaking about. And then I'm going to give some commentary about how I feel about what we just heard.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has shocked the world, coming up on a forum saying very openly on TV that Russia has come very close to bringing out or discovering or presenting a cancer vaccine that is massive. It is. We have come close to creating so-called onco-vaccines, vaccines against cancer, and a new generation of immunomodulatory drugs. And I hope that soon they will be effectively used as methods of individual therapy. Of course, there are many bright discoveries now, and we are looking forward to such discoveries in the future. What's interesting is the timing of when Russian government, Russian president decide to speak out to say we are ready to produce what you call the so-called vaccine. Very interesting. So Russian President Vladimir Putin announced.
So this is very interesting. And like I said, this is unprecedented. If this is if any ounce of this is true, then the implications of this is just, it's astronomical. Vladimir Putin is proclaiming that Russia has found and discovered vaccinations for cancer viruses. So the implications of this, like I said, is going to be astronomical if any ounce of it has any truth to it.
Russian scientists are close to developing cancer vaccine, potentially revolutionizing cancer treatment globally. You know, cancer treatment is a very big portion of revenue that the health industry makes. He shared his breakthrough at a Moscow forum on future technology, expressing hope for the effective use of individual therapy. So, fellas, for those of you who don't know, the cancer business, because it is a business, of course, what is a business? Definition of a business is providing service for return, financial return. It's exactly what happens within the cancer arena. What is Vladimir Putin really trying to provide as a message? As he says it very openly, Putin stated that we have come very close to the creation of the so-called cancer vaccine. So-called cancer vaccine. Say so-called cancer. Why so-called? I'm very interested. Why so-called? Not just cancer vaccine, but he said we come very close to the so-called cancer vaccine. He says it's a new generation drug. He says, I hope that soon they will be effectively used as a method of individual therapy. I think this is very interesting to look into. Why has this happened now? The question is, did they have something already before? Why did he decide to express himself now? Let me remind you here that a few companies in Western countries have been working.
And I believe that as well. I've always said that I believe that the cure for everything lies in some secret building that the average citizen is totally unbeknownst to. Because if we knew where these vaccinations were, it would be it would be civil unrest. There would be civil wars, and the governments, they know exactly what they're doing when they create secret laboratories and deem these things of national security as a way to keep the general public away from these areas that they're housing secret vaccines, secret biochemistry, see all types of things that they are keeping secret from the average citizen. And so I believed for a very long time that the cures for all of these different things, cancer, HIV, you name it, I believe that it all exists. My intellect won't allow me to believe different. And so, with that being said, I don't know, maybe it is coincidental, maybe it is not. Who knows why Russia is deciding at this point in time to release this information? But what I do know is that the world is going to take notice to this. And this is not something that the world can ignore because there's really been no other place to announce or to profess such a thing.
Working very hard. Various companies and countries, including the UK government and Germany-based BioNTech, are actively working on cancer vaccine. The UK government's agreement with BioNTech aims to launch clinical trial for personalized cancer treatment, potentially benefiting 10,000 patients at 2030. The UK, Germany, the United States, and many other companies, they have a program into bringing the cancer vaccine, so-called cancer vaccine, as per Vladimir Putin, available to the public by 2030. Maybe not many years for you because you're healthy, but that's many years away for somebody suffering from cancer right now. Pharmaceutical giant Moderna and Merck are developing experimental cancer vaccine showing promising results, according to themselves. So, fellas, let me get back to this so we can understand. Putin comes forward and say, we are very close to developing cancer vaccine. Why does he do that? It's very clear. Russia is at war against most of the world, at least against Western nation. And the
I find that also very funny. And it might be strategic as well because if Vladimir Putin comes out and says, you know what, we have we are very close to developing vaccinations for cancer treatment. If he comes out and says this, then the other nations, the other countries that have been doing such and may very well have been keeping it secret from their general populations, now they will have to move. They will scramble to move forward with releasing theirs because they don't want Russia to beat them. And this becomes a game. It's the same thing as the space race. It's the same thing as the arms race. It's the same thing as any other thing that these nations compete with each other for. And so if Russia is announcing that it is very close to developing vaccinations for cancer treatments, then all other places that are doing such will scramble and rush to do the same thing because they do not want Russia to be the winner. They do not want Russia to be the only one. And so you can very well bet that if there are companies inside the United States of America that have been doing the very same thing and they are close or however close they are, they're going to start releasing information to the general public to let them know that they too are very close and have been doing the same thing because then it will become a race. So understand the strategy behind what just happened. Now, as I said, you and I both don't know, you and I don't know very well if this is absolutely true or if this is just some type of tactic to get people to um be on edge, to get people that's in your adversarial regimes to be in a panic mode, so to say. And so only time will tell how real this actually is. Only time will tell if there are other nations who will come out, who will follow suit.
war doesn't limit itself to weapons and missiles. The war is mediatic. The war is in terms of development. The war includes technology and health. What does this mean? What is the message that it's sending? United States of America and many other countries in the Western Hemisphere make a lot of money through healthcare. Clearly, they work in communion and collaboration with these big companies. We have Pfizer, Moderna, and many other companies that work very, very much into that sector and paying big amounts of taxes in this government. So America clearly want to see these companies do great in the arena of health. So what does this really mean?
And that's another thing. So that's another angle to look at it from. Maybe he actually does have the technology and maybe he is very close to developing a vaccination. And that will trigger a catastrophic event for the United States of America. Because as I was just talking to a friend of mine's, what do you think will happen? Well, so many people will want to leave the country. So many people will want to go to Russia where the vaccination is being held. They will want to go where the vaccine they can get the vaccination. And if it's being made available to the general public in Russia, then you can imagine, you can just imagine not just the people from the United States of America, but you can imagine the people around the world that will want to leave their homelands, leave their country, leave wherever they are and go to Russia, especially if they are cancer patients, if they are people who have been diagnosed with any type of cancer, they will want to go there. And so they're saying that, um, from what I'm hearing, that I don't think it will be available to the general public until the year 2030, which would put us about 6 years away from it actually being on the market for the general public.
The cancer industry makes yearly about $100 billion minimum from treatment. Okay, by the time they issue treatment, so you can live longer because it's not really a very clean cure to cancer. So every time they sell you these tablets, syringe, everything that's relative to cancer treatment, they make at the end of the year about $100 billion. So it's even massive business. If you look at it as a human being perspective, it makes no sense making money out of people being sick. I completely understand. But from an investor and business person perspective, that's great business. $100 billion a year, for sure. That's an excellent business. Now, will the businessman and investor not be happy that cancer continues? I don't know. You tell me. If I can invest money into a business where people get not so nice, but I make money out of it, would I really want it to stop completely? That's a big question for you to respond to. Investors' job is to make money. Yes, some of them maybe have a good heart, they want you to be good and stuff, but if they make money out of you being that way, why would they stop? Why would they provide you with something that gets rid of that situation, that provides them with the sustenance and the money that they make every year? $100 billion. Now, what is the danger to this? The danger is very clear. Vladimir Putin is clearly making sure to make this cancer treatment available at a very cheap price. How do we know this? If you look at the past, I'm sure we can see many incidents where these things happened. During COVID time, I'm sure you remember about that. That was one of the most traumatic moments in my entire life. Many companies made big money out of this. Moderna, Pfizer, and many others. These big companies made a lot of money through COVID. I'm sure, I know, people don't want to hear it. Let's be realistic. They made a tremendous amount of money out of that crisis. Did you know that Russia also developed a vaccine for COVID? Many people don't know about it. It's called Sputnik COVID. Sputnik vaccine was very effective indeed. But nobody spoke about it because they were trying to politicize the situation, saying it's unreliable, it's not a good vaccine, not being trialed, not being tasted, forgetting that the very
So during the COVID-19 situation, Russia developed their own vaccination. But because the West and its allies have such a disdain for Russia, not only did they not speak about the vaccination, but if it was spoken about, it was downplayed and made to seem like it was unreliable. And these are the tactics that are being used. So one has to question, do these corporations really care about you and I? Do they truly really care about you and I? Or is this about currency? Because it all comes back to the same thing at the end of the day. It all comes back to the same thing. And so many people would have loved to know, or would have loved to be privy to the fact that there were other alternatives on the market. And this is the information that your government inside your country does not want you to know. They don't want you leaving the country to go receive treatment in other places. No, they would much rather have you be in debt or spend that money in the very country that you live in, regardless of how inadequate the treatment is, regardless of how problematic and how much of a risk it would be for you. And it's a repeat cycle. that we're in. It's a repeat cycle as it relates to situations that are of severity. It's the same thing. We always have to come to a point where we have to learn from the mistakes that we made. And the problem with that scenario is that when you give a chosen few, a group of people, when you give them power over you to govern you, but yet they don't have the proper information. They don't have the answers. This becomes a very problematic situation. And so, like I said, if this has any ounce of truth to it, and the United States of America, the major media corporations, they will downplay this information. It is almost unequivocally true. They will not allow Russia to make an announcement like this without downplaying the announcement. They will say that it's untrue. They will say that it's unfounded. They will say that it's no proof. They will say whatever it is that they need to say to get the general public of the United States of America and its allies to not believe such a thing. And then if Russia doubles down, if they double down on the situation and provide proof, well, then that's when you'll get the secret corporations in your country that will come forward and say that they themselves were working on the very same thing. They themselves will say that they are very close as well. And then it'll be about your choice.
The same thing they were selling had not been tested as per the protocol of 10 years. The difference was the Russian vaccine was very cheap compared to Moderna and Pfizer. Pfizer vaccine doses were selling at about $70 and Moderna about $55. In the meantime, how much do you think Sputnik vaccine was selling for? $10. With the same effectiveness and sometimes much better than the Western nation vaccine. Many countries rejected it for political reasons. But these are the countries that accepted Russian vaccine. Sputnik vaccine was approved in Russia, Belarus, Argentina, Bolivia, Serbia, Algeria, Palestine, Venezuela. Do you see where we're going? These are specific countries. Paraguay, Turkmenistan, Uruguay, the UAE, Iran, Guinea, Tunisia, Armenia, Mexico, Nicaragua. That's the direction it went. So everybody was told about Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson Johnson, but
So it seems like the world was divided. Seems like half the world went with the Russian vaccination and the other half of the world went with the US vaccination. And that's how these geopolitical events have been playing out. The world has been divided. There are countries that are allies to the United States of America, and that's one side. And then all of the adversarial countries to the United States of America, it seems like they've been brokering and making deals with each other. And it seems like they're growing stronger and stronger by the year. And so now you have the newly formed BRICS nations that have come together in solidarity also for one common cause as it relates to economics.
not everybody was told about Sputnik that cost much, much cheaper than the other vaccine with the same level of effectiveness. As per reports, they made a lot of money out of vaccine. Cumulatively, Pfizer and Moderna made about $100 million out of vaccine. Yes. So, fellas, what does this mean? There's a lot of things happening right now. Russia's really fighting back. And I feel like they're bringing out weapons that they had in the past and never wanted to use. They are fighting in terms of weapons. Russia's just developed one of the scariest missiles ever. Missile capable of destroying satellites on orbit. And this is shaking everybody on the other side. And nobody's talking about it. Russia is now coming forward with a potential vaccine for cancer in the future. And that's going to destroy business for many, many people. That is dangerous. And I feel like Russians or Vladimir
it will completely destroy businesses. If, like I said, the implications of this is astronomical. If any ounce of this has any truth to it, then the implications for a lot of companies in the United States of America and abroad that make vaccinations or make different treatments for cancer that have not worked or have been ineffective, they are going to seriously lose business. If not, I believe that they might completely go out of business altogether. Follow Street Icon on all social media platforms. At Street Icon 1 on the X platform. At Street Icon 8080 on the YouTube platform. Street Icon on all other social media platforms. Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know how you feel about the stories that I've brought to you today. Did you know about them? How do they specifically make you feel? Drop a comment in the comment section and always remember, stay vigilant, stay safe. Peace.